So I was talking to one of my friends a couple of weeks ago, and I met her while I was in Mexico. And we were talking just kind of about our journeys and how we even started our journeys. And I started to talk to her about basically how and why I got the courage to travel. And I thought, she actually pointed out to me that she was like, that's actually a really interesting story, I guess. So I wanted to do a video about why I started solo traveling, what got me interested in it, how I found the courage to do it, and just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. So I will say that when I was like straight out of college, a lot of my friends went and were playing in the NFL. I went to a school, like a high school that was super football heavy, being from Allen, Texas. So a lot of my peers and friends went to the NFL, and I, as a young person getting out of college, really was envious of this lifestyle that I just felt like these people could just live, or they could just be anywhere. They could just travel, and they didn't have a 9-to-5 job. And at the time, that was really my only experience to be around people that didn't have 9-to-5 jobs, were my friends that played professional football. And so when I was in my early 20s, I was still in college, I decided to get my real estate license because, again, at the time, it was like the only job I knew of where I could be my own boss and make my own schedule. And I really wanted to make my own schedule because I wanted to live like my friends that were playing professional sports and were just able to travel. So that was kind of first when I got this idea that I really just didn't feel comfortable being stuck at a 9-to-5 job where I had to ask off work. And I worked a job, I worked in apartment buildings, so we had to work the weekends. And it just, something never really sat right with me. From a very young age, I was only in the 9-to-5 world for probably 3 years, and I just immediately was like, I can't do this. This doesn't seem right to be chained to a desk. So that's why I got my real estate license. I would say throughout the time that, throughout my early 20s, I was a struggling entrepreneur. Even though I had time freedom, I made my own schedule. I didn't have the finances to travel, or so I thought. And I would say there was probably 1 year during my 20s that I did travel a lot. That's a whole other story. But other than that, I really didn't dive into it. But at some point in time, probably I would say 3 or 4 years ago, I found this Facebook group. And the Facebook group is called Girls Love Travel. And it has a ton of people. I want to say it's 150,000 women in it from all over the world. And I just was constantly reading these people's posts. And it seemed to be people that were 18 years old all the way to people that were 80 that were talking about solo traveling. And I just felt super inspired by this group because I would see people literally all age ranges, all different backgrounds, all different stories being I'm going on my first solo travel, or I'm now traveling here, I'm traveling there. And I just never really even thought about travel in that way, that I could just go anywhere that I wanted and do whatever I wanted by myself. I had always been somebody who I would say was a bit insecure, timid, didn't want to do things alone. I think I just had a lot of anxiety. I was kind of raised by somebody who operated like that, who just wouldn't dare travel by themselves or wouldn't dare go on a road trip by themselves. And I also had that mentality a bit. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I was on this Facebook group, Girls Love Travel, and I literally would see women that were I'm 80 years old and I just went on my first solo trip, or I'm a single mom of 4 and I finally saved up and I'm 45 and I'm going on my first solo trip, or I'd see girls straight out of college or girls that didn't even go to college who were just traveling. And I had this spark in me that I was like, you know what? I feel like what I really need in my life is to solo travel. And I got it in my head that I was gonna change totally as a person if I could just solo travel, because I saw so many women in this Facebook group talking about it. And so I would say for probably 2 or 3 years, always around my birthday, I would plan some sort of a trip. And I always had this vision of like, because I worked doing real estate and worked for myself, I always had this vision of like, you know what, I could just go live somewhere for a month, because I could work anywhere. And I always around my birthday for the last 3 or 4 years would plan a trip, and even go as far as like booking Airbnbs, booking flights, all of it. And then I would just, for some reason, cancel it. I would chicken out. And yeah, and I just like honestly was always feeling really down about myself. I'm like, why am I not brave like those other women that I'm seeing in this Facebook group? Like, I have the time to do this, I have the flexibility to do it. Like, why am I not doing it? And yeah, and I think at this point in time too, like it's not that I like didn't even have friends that wanted to travel. My friends were traveling, but I just really got it in my mind that I needed to solo travel because of this Facebook group. So I, as some of you guys know, in 2021, I guess, or 2022, I don't know, a year ago or so, I got the news that my vision was rapidly declining, and I had been diagnosed with a rare eye disease, and I had gone in for a checkup, and I realized my vision was declining a lot. And I obviously went down a huge spiral. You can find all throughout my YouTube channel, that whole mental spiral I went down. And I was in a Reiki session trying to like get my headspace right, trying to like overcome these crazy suicidal thoughts. And I just had this epiphany during this Reiki session that I was like, you know what? You've always wanted to travel. You've always made excuses as to why you couldn't or why you shouldn't. And now you've gotten this huge wake-up call from the universe that you may lose your vision and you may never get the chance to solo travel ever if your vision increases in vision loss. So I like got out of that Reiki session, decided to quit my career as a real estate broker, real estate agent, all of that. I decided to quit my career and pack up all my stuff and just go travel. And that's how I got to Thailand. I had been like scoping out this one specific retreat center, Wonderland Healing Center, which I love my family there. But I had been scoping out this retreat center for about a year. And then when all this stuff happened with my vision, I just knew that it was time for me to go. I had to do this solo trip. Like, my life kind of depended on it. And and honestly, coming from somebody who had suffered from mental illness my entire life and somebody who was extremely suicidal due to this diagnosis and not really knowing what my future was going to look like, I am so happy that I just kind of had this spark placed in me for pretty much like 10 years. I had this spark in me that I'm like, I want to solo travel and I want to see the world. And it just took some crazy things in my life to happen in order for me to finally take that jump. And since then, my life has completely changed, totally changed. I am the best version of myself that I could have ever even made up in my mind. I have done way more things than I ever would have imagined. Like, I honestly am the type of person that I always wanted to be, but I just like never could get there. I always made excuses about like why my personal daily habits or financial habits or business habits, like I always just made different excuses as to why I wasn't this type of person that I wanted to be. And ever since I honestly took that plunge and went on my first solo trip and just like got the confidence that I really can do anything, and there's nothing holding me back, my life has just changed. So I wanted to just tell the story about how I started solo traveling. I could go into all these details about, like, there's so many different ways that you can solo travel. Like, you do not have to have a ton of financial resources. I didn't when I first started this journey, but there's like so many different travel hack websites or YouTube channels. I mean, from using credit card points to using a credit card in general, like that's what I did, to there's different like workaway programs, or like house swaps, or pet sitting, or like there's so many different things that you can do to either have free accommodations, like, or you can do hostels, or you can do like exchanges. I did exchanges for some of like the stuff when I was in Thailand, that I would make content for them in exchange for accommodation. Like, you can do so many things as far as hotel accommodation, and same thing with like flights if you want to do it through points or whatever. I mean, there's just so many different things that you can do to travel. I even recently saw on that Facebook group, the Girls Love Travel group that I'm still in, about women talking about them picking up seasonal type jobs, whether it be in Antarctica or whether it be in Colorado or Alaska, like places where like people need to work seasonally. And those types of jobs like give you housing, accommodation, food, all of it. And there's just like so many different ways that I didn't realize that you could just see the world and experience, and not have just a life that you hate sitting at a job every single day for months and months and months. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but some of us do like change, do like adventure, and don't like routine. And I'm somebody like that was me. So working a 9-to-5 job and staying in one spot for like more than 6 months was never gonna work for me. I literally have moved every single year for the past 10 years. I just like change, and that's okay. And I, for the longest, tried to make myself feel like it was not okay to be somebody like that. For the longest, I felt like I was supposed to have some sort of a stable 9-to-5 type job and live in one place and build a life there. But I realized that was one of the biggest things that why I was so unhappy, was because I'm not designed to be grounded anywhere. I'm designed to just like float around and have adventures, have new challenges, and just evolve and change all the time. Like, that's how my soul finds happiness. So I just wanted to make this video about how or why I got the courage to start solo traveling. I still, like, even coming here to Mexico again, like, this is gonna be my 3rd time of being like in a foreign country for an extended period of time alone, and I still am like getting on the plane kind of like worried about it. So I'm assuming it's gonna get easier. I'm thinking for 2024, at least for like the beginning part of the year, I'm really like thinking I'm gonna travel through Central and South America, but I'm like honestly still can't even like swallow that decision. I'm still like, can't even believe that this is like my life. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions about solo traveling, I'm gonna try to link the Girls Love Travel Facebook group on this post. But yeah, just kind of wanted to share my journey and hopefully inspire some other people that if you're wanting to solo travel, it is so life-changing. Don't let people tell you that, oh, you're a female, or oh, that country's really dangerous, or whatever. Like, do your own research, listen to your intuition, talk to people, and just make your own judgment. I have been in Mexico alone as a female, and this is probably like the #1 country in this part of the world that everyone is like, it is so dangerous there, don't go there. And not saying that it's not dangerous, but I personally feel safer here than what I do in the multiple places that I've lived and visited in the United States. So yeah, I think just do your own research, talk to people, get references, and just make your own decision and just live your life. Stop letting people's own fears and their own fears and just like their own resentment towards themselves get in the way of you living your life the way that you want to. So yeah, please let me know in the comments any other tips or topics that you want me to share about my travel journey, because I'm gonna be experiencing this like with you guys. So talk to you guys soon.